Nasty line of storms coming into the viewing area now, and we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of the Jackson metro area, especially on the west side of town. We got a squall line that has just crossed the Mississippi River, and there is really strong winds in that. Of course, there's been strong winds all day. We talked about that yesterday. Strong pressure gradient winds, and we have sustained winds of 30 miles per hour out ahead of this line, and wind gusts 45 to 55 miles per hour, and that's outside of the storms, and that has caused some problems. So this line is now past Vicksburg, and you can see we also have a tornado warning down in the southwestern parts of the area. Conditions are a little bit more favorable for spin-ups down across our southern counties. This is where the air is a little bit more humid. It's a little bit less humid further to the north. The storms might be a little bit elevated, a little bit further off the ground, but certainly some strong winds coming into Yazoo City now, approaching Bovina and Edwards very shortly. And certainly eventually the severe thunderstorm warning will be extended into the eastern parts of Madison County and over into the eastern parts of Rankin County. You can see the line, and we've been watching it for the last couple of hours. It's very linear, which means straight line winds along that line, and it is now moving to the east of Vicksburg. We do have a tornado watch in effect, and once this line does pass, the threat of severe storms will end. So let's get a little bit closer right into this storm coming into the Jackson metro area right now. And as that storm continues to move to the east and northeast, right there, already coming into Flowers, Edwards, so it's already just about ready to cross from Warren County into the western parts of Hinds County. And out ahead of that, we do have some showers. These are not going to be severe showers. These are just going to be quick, heavy downpour out ahead of the main line. Gusty winds continue out ahead of the line. And really, as this line approaches, there'll be a quick burst of additional wind gusts, blinding rain, and then it'll end. I don't expect any tornado warnings in this part of the line. We'll see. Anything can happen. Our dew point is still only in the 50s. It doesn't feel like tornado weather out there, I guess you could say. It's not super humid, but certainly as this line surges across the metro area over the next 1 hour's time, there will be some additional emphasis on the gusty winds and the heavy rain moving through. I know it's kind of an unusual situation today because the winds have been so strong out ahead of this line. Typically, we'll just see some gusty winds, and then the big winds are along the line, but that's not the case today. Some of the biggest winds are out ahead of the line, and this line will move through. This would actually end the severe thunderstorm threat when it passes, but even after it passes, we'll continue to see some very strong winds. All right, let's go a little bit further to the south here, and you can see this cell that has the tornado warning on it, and I'll stop it right now so we can see it has already passed the Mississippi River. It is to the east of Natchez. There's Natchez back down here. So you're looking into the extreme northeastern parts of Adams County. It'll be moving out of Adams County very shortly, and then up into maybe just a little bit to the southeast of Alcorn. And here's Fayette, and you're right there. We did see a little bit of rotation in that part of the storm, and that's what we were watching back in the weather office as we were getting ready to cut in. So right in this area, there is a little bit of broad rotation in this area. Not really seeing anything distinct. And just keep in mind, today, even though there is a tornado warning here, I'll be honest, the big threat today is the strong pressure gradient winds already gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour, and then we have the line moving through. That's really more of a threat than when we see just a little isolated spin-up tornado try to develop here. So remember that as this line is coming through, we've had very strong pressure gradient winds, and trees have fallen down, and that has caused some problems and some power outages as well. But we do have, this is the only tornado warning in the line of storms that is approaching the area right now. And as you can see, it is already past Adams, crossing Highway 61 right now. It's going to pass to the southeast of Alcorn, but the rotation and maybe some of the strongest winds coming into Fayette right now. Just looking at some of our products here to see if we can see anything unusual as that storm moves out of Adams County and up towards Fayette. So just heads up, tornado warning is in effect for that area. All right, further to the north, again, this line is going to continue to move very quickly through the Jackson metro area over about the next 1 hour time. And some of the strongest winds have already cleared Vicksburg. We were watching Vicksburg Skycam, and it was blinding rain for a very short period of time. And you got this activity now coming into western Hinds County. So some very strong winds in addition to the pressure gradient winds that are going on across our area right now will do the velocity. And let me put this in motion because you're going to see this line surge. I'm going to actually go back 1 hour in time. And right there is the surge of wind that is coming into western Hinds County, right there. On the leading edge where you have the red and then no color, this is where the line of storms is what we call bowing out. The winds are focusing on that part of the line, and it creates a little bit of a bow signature where I drew that white line in there. And these winds are going to be crossing the metro area now over the next 1 hour time. All right, let's go down into southwest Mississippi. Katie's got a timeline on that storm coming up with the tornado warning on it. Again, tornado warning not in effect for Natchez, but from Fayette eastward down there in southwest Mississippi.
Yeah, and that tornado warning is just south of Port Gibson, so it does not include you guys, but you guys are dealing with some heavy rain at the moment. So we continue to watch this tornado warn cell. This includes parts of Claiborne and Jefferson County, and tracking that heavy rain and additional strong wind gusts in that line. Looks like it's going to head towards Jefferson, Tillman, Pattison within the next few minutes here. Violet, Blue Hill, Barland. Again, this is moving very quickly. It's moving northeast at around 55 miles per hour. McBride, Burnell within the next 10 minutes. Conn, Union Church, Pleasant Hill within the next 15 minutes. Barlow, Hoodtown, and Willing within the next 20 to 25 minutes. So heads up, you have heavy rain, frequent lightning, and some strong winds on top of the strong winds we've already been seeing today. So just keep in mind that. So here's a live look over our Vicksburg sky cam. That rain has passed over you guys. So the worst of the weather is out. Just a couple of some raindrops over there. But one of the main impacts that we have been seeing today have been those strong wind gusts ranging from 40 to over 50 miles per hour, and that's going to continue as this line continues to track across the viewing area. Another thing we are watching is that line that's continuing to track here. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings embedded in this, and then we are watching that one tornado warning that we have. Let's turn it over to David. He'll have another check at what's happening.
Hey, that's a good update. Again, reminding people of the pressure gradient winds that are ongoing in the area. This is a threat that is really impacting everyone in the viewing area as this line comes through. Out ahead of that, we've got a downpour here at the station out ahead of the main line. Here's Jackson, Crystal Springs. This is Interstate 55. And here's that bowing segment that is coming into western Hinds County now. So in addition to those pressure gradient winds that have been 45 to 55 miles per hour since about 11 o'clock this morning and continue right now, here we have a bowing segment enhancing the strong winds in this area. It's certainly possible we could see winds gust to 65 in this line of storms that is now moving into the western parts of Hinds County. So this is the bowing segment, and this is why we have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Hinds County and parts of western Madison County. Scott Simmons has been over in Vicksburg, and I saw that he sent in a picture of a structure which was blown down, and that was even before the line of storms came through. Now, further to the southwest, this is our tornado warning polygon box, and we've had a little bit of broad rotation in the vicinity of Fayette. So southern parts of Claiborne and Jefferson County under a tornado warning. Now, this has already moved out of Adams County, but I would just want to emphasize again, today we have really a significant wind threat ongoing everywhere, And when we talk about these areas, severe thunderstorm warning, whether it's this Boeing segment or a possible spin up in the line, that only enhances the wind threat in a localized area. Now, keep in mind, as we look at the setup that we're dealing with, and I always like to give you what the setup is, where I think the better chances of tornadoes would be, that is going to be across our southern counties. I think really south of Crystal Springs and Hazelhurst, you get down towards Macomb and Brookhaven. It's a little bit more humid there. And there's no significant instability further to the north. There's a little bit of instability out ahead of this line down towards Macomb. So if we're going to get a spin-up tornado, it would occur down in this area as this line moves through. Now, this line is going to move through quickly. Here we are just a little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this Boeing segment and the squall line is coming into the western parts of the metro area. This will probably be out of the metro area by 3:30. This squall line, and so we'll probably see continuation of deteriorating conditions with the strong winds continuing, and then an enhancement as this line comes through. Now, once that line comes through, the threat of the severe storm will be over. So that is good news. All right, let's go over to the supercomputer now, if we will, please. And this is really something as well. I noticed Monroe is already down to 56 degrees. And at Vicksburg, Tallulah, behind that line, the temperature has dropped to 59. And look here, 55 degrees in Natchez. And even out ahead of that line, where there is a little bit of instability, temperatures are struggling to even reach 70 degrees. We're at 68 in Jackson and 70 in Carthage. So it's right here. That line is coming in, and you can almost see it there. There's the change in the wind right there, may even be lagging the line. It's probably more like here. So there's a little wedge that's coming up out of South Mississippi into the southwest parts of the viewing area, and this area right down in here where we could muster up a spin-up tornado. Further to the north, it looks like it would be primarily wind associated with that. So in the viewing area, tornado watch is in effect until the line passes where you are. So right along the line, everybody has a severe thunderstorm warning. And then we have that little spin showing up on radar in the vicinity of Fayette, and that caused the issuance of a tornado warning that is in effect for far southeastern Claiborne County and through parts of Jefferson County. It is a line that has been moving very quickly. It developed last night. We talked about it on the 10 o'clock news, and here is the wide view. Of course, Mardi Gras, a lot of the festivities were moved up in New Orleans. The line is still to the west at Baton Rouge, but this would be impacting New Orleans by late this afternoon and this evening. You can see, though, once this line passes, that is it for the severe weather threat. And you can see the intense lightning along this line as well. But keep in mind, we're seeing the observations where as this line passes, bam, the temperature drops into the 50s. So the rain will come through, and then it'll turn colder, and the rain will end fairly quickly. Here in the Jackson area, as I said, it looks like all should be improving by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But here's the line now. Some rough weather coming into Yazoo City, stretching just to the west of Bentonia, being to Flora here very shortly, moving into western Hinds County, Edwards, Bovina under the gun right now, Utica, torrential rain, gusty winds, a little bit of thunder and lightning. And we've also had a large area of light rain develop out ahead of that. Now, I'll tell you what that's going to do. This is probably going to cool the air a little bit, and it may help to diminish the gusty wind threat out ahead of the line. So don't be surprised if you see these winds, which have been gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour, calm down a little bit. And then when the squall line comes through, they pick back up. So just remember, even though you got these heavy downpours moving through, a little thunder and lightning, and if the winds ease up a little bit until this main line comes through, that's when the severe weather threat ends. All right, we've been talking about the big winds today. Caitlin, can you give us an update on the winds that are going on across the area right now, what radar is estimating and what have you, because the winds have been very significant today.
Yeah, they have been very significant. We just had the highest report of wind gust at the airport at 46, and I think David said he had 51 at his house. So these winds are very strong here across the area, strongest here across our viewing area. If you look back off towards the west where that line has passed, we're still picking up over 20 to 30. So as that line passes your area, still expecting those winds to be strong, but they are strongest ahead of that main line, picking up around 48 north of Canton, in the Jackson area around 53 miles per hour, south of Crystal Springs 49. So some very strong wind gusts here across the area, ranging from 40 to over 50 miles per hour. I do want to take a look at those power outages because they have been adding up due to those strong winds. I mean, on my way here, I could see the trees swaying as well as those street lights swaying. So those winds are definitely up, and we do have some power outages to report. Right around 1,000 over in two parts of Warren County, 300 over in Claiborne, and I think we had around 15,000 statewide. So those power outages are adding up, and that's all due to the strong wind gusts that we have been reporting here across the area. And that's going to continue to knock down those power lines and those trees here this afternoon, and the rain really not adding to it because that's going to saturate the soil, and that's going to help cause those power lines and trees to go down. So we'll continue to monitor those power outages here across the area. And we also had reports of Vicksburg home collapse over. Yeah, so we can pull up that picture right now if we can here on the weather monitor so we can get a good look at that. We do have reports of that, and that was due to some really strong wind gusts here across the area. So here's a look at that. Wind topples home. No injuries reported, but you can see that a house has collapsed due to those very strong winds ahead of that storm earlier today. All right, let's toss it over back to David, and we'll have another update on that situation.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the winds have been really serious today, and we continue to watch this surge of wind coming now into far southwestern Madison County. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, straight edge on that line, and we'll go to Storm Shield 16 3D here, and I have it zoomed in for you. There is going to be a nice just push of wind as this line comes through, coming through the Brownsville community, Bolton right now. So if you're in Clinton and then up towards Flora, out there in the vicinity of the Highway 49 off to the north, out towards Kearney Park, got some pretty strong winds coming. Of course, the winds have been strong all day, but this will be kind of a nice little push of straight line winds. The winds blowing out ahead of this line out of the east, southeast, and south. And then when that line passes, the push of wind will switch the direction to the west. All right, let's go back over to the maps here. We are watching multiple storms along this line of storms here. And I can tell you that that rotation that we were watching down there in the southwest part of the viewing area where they issued the tornado warning, that cell was not looking as healthy as it was a short time ago. So it's very possible that this tornado warning will not last much longer. Here again, as I was watching that storm develop, really looking at a lot of straight line wind, and I don't really see much in the way of any kind of rotation with that cell right now, and that is surging fairly quickly to the east. So hopefully we'll see that tornado warning canceled here very shortly. We're trying my different elements, and the shear, even with that cell, has kind of moved out, and so not as much of a concern on that cell. I'm going to stop that here. We'll watch it again here, and watch how you'll see some red come in that. Let me shorten that time lapse. Let me do 30 minutes. Maybe it won't go by as fast, but right there, you see that little red, and then down into there, that is showing where we did have that possible little spin up right in that area. See that red? And that is winds up over 60, 65 miles per hour. That was why this cell was tornado warned, but now it has kind of went kaput. Good news there, but you can see why that tornado warning was issued here. A quick spin up concentration of the strong winds that we've been watching through the course of the day. Let me look at the shear on that, see if we can see if the shear flared up with that as it moved through. Put it up, and well, the shear wasn't too strong, just a little bit of shear with it. It was very weak, but there you certainly could see why we did have the issuance of the tornado warning with that cell. So it is some good news there. We're not seeing the rotation that we were a short time ago. That cell doesn't look as strong as it was. In fact, it's beginning to look more linear, straight line wind feature associated with that on the leading edge of that. I'll stop it on the last frame there, and that's what I'm talking about. More of a linear or straight feature, and the tornado warning has in fact canceled, as I suspect that it would. So we're watching the situation here very closely. We're going to throw it back to programming here. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. The pressure gradient winds have been significant today, and we'll continue to do so. I'll do a 1-hour time lapse so you can see how an hour ago at 1:20 this line was to the west of Vicksburg, and an hour later it is now coming into the western parts of the metro area. So we got a squall line and severe thunderstorm warning not even in effect for Holmes County. It's a little bit more stable there, so the cell's probably elevated, not severe. But then you get a little bit further to the south, the wind is a little bit more concentrated along that line. We'll be watching the line and watching for any rotation, but right now, coming into the Jackson metro area, we got a line of heavy rain and some thunder and lightning associated with that, all with severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll be watching for any kind of rotation. Keep it here for updates.